Hi you guys, nice to see you. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about some science things, and we are going to do a little experiment, a little investigation in a few minutes. But to start off with, I want to walk you through an activity or do an activity with you because I want you to think of an idea, something that I'm thinking about. Have you guys ever played a game where I look around the room and I'll say, I'm thinking of something in the room?
Yeah.
And then you ask me questions, and eventually you figure out that I was thinking about the whiteboard right here.
Yeah.
You played a game like that before?
No.
No? Anybody?
I
Play-
spy.
It's like I Spy. You're absolutely right. It's very similar to that. So we're going to do a game similar to that. But when we play this game, I don't want you to give me the answer, which seems really weird. I want you to think about the idea, but not the answer. Okay? And we're going to do one. We're going to do one that's sort of it's like an example, a test to show us how that works. So when we do this, I'm going to give you examples of the idea that I'm thinking about, and then I'm going to give you examples that are not the idea that I'm thinking about. And I think you'll figure this out pretty fast. So let me show you how this works. Here we go. This is an example of the idea that I'm thinking about. Now don't tell me the answer. Don't tell me, just put your hand down for a second. You've got to think through this, okay? So remember, don't tell the idea. Can anybody read that line right there? It says,
Don't tell the idea.
Right, you're thinking about the idea in your head. But once you figure out what the idea is, you can give me another example of that idea that I'm thinking about. So that is an example that I'm thinking about. All right? This is another example of what I'm thinking about. Don't tell me the idea. So what you want to ask yourself is, what's the same about that stop sign and this apple right here? Now don't tell me. Don't tell me the answer. Think about what the idea is. Let me show you another one. This is not the idea I'm thinking of. This is not an example. So there's something about the apple and the stop sign that are the idea that I'm thinking about, but the banana is not the idea. All right? So that, but don't tell me the idea. All right? Okay, so that's not an example. Does anybody have an idea of what I might be getting you to think about? But give me an example. Don't tell me what the answer is. Could anybody try? What do you think it might be? Give me an example. Okay, can you give me an example of something that is that? Okay, give me something other than a stop sign and other than an apple. Look around the room. Maybe you'll see something that's, what?
American flag with it?
The American flag. So part of the American flag is the idea that I'm thinking of. That's very good. Very nicely done. Somebody else give me an example. Yep.
The whiteboard?
The whiteboard, is this an example or not an example?
Not it.
I totally agree with you. I think you've got it. How about you?
Some of those peppermint things on the gingerbread man.
Ah, okay. So if I look up at the you mean these guys on the wall right here?
Yeah.
So would this be an example, yes or no?
No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay. Which one are you talking about?
I'm talking about the red thing.
Oh, so you're talking about these buttons right here?
Yeah.
Is that an example of what we're looking for?
No.
Yeah? I would agree, that's an example. Yeah, go ahead.
Please wait to go to the bathroom.
And which part of this is an example?
The outline.
I totally agree. How many know what the idea is that I'm thinking of? Okay? Who has no idea what I'm thinking of? Clueless. You don't get it? Okay? I don't get it either. But actually, most people did. So, what's the idea I was thinking of? Say it.
Red.
The color red. You guys did really well. I'm telling you, you guys, good group of kids here. They're very sharp. Okay, so now that you understand how the game is played, let's do the science idea that I'm thinking of, okay? And again, you might not know the words for this, but that's okay because you can tell me the idea in your own words, all right? So, here we go. When somebody slams a door and you jump,
No.
has that ever happened to you?
No.
Never?
No.
How many has that happened to? Yes, somebody slams a door and you jump, right? That's the idea I'm thinking of. So that is an example, all right? How about this? Have you ever touched something that's really, really hot? And what do you do? Do you pull your hand back really fast?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an example of what I'm thinking of. Okay, so what does, don't give me an answer yet, don't tell me the idea, but what does slamming a door and you jumping, or putting your hand on a hot stove and pulling it back, what do they have in common? How are they alike? Don't tell me the answer yet, okay? Just think about that in your head, okay? So that's an example. A light switch is not an example of this idea. It's not. It's not at all. That's not an example. Or how about this one? Sometimes plants will grow toward the sunlight. That's an example of this idea that I'm thinking about. Okay? A fish. You guys have fish back here, don't you?
Yeah.
A fish just sitting there, swimming around, that's not an example. That is not an example. But if I throw a rock into the water and the fish swims away, that's an example of what the idea that I'm thinking about. Can anybody think of another example of the idea that I'm thinking about? This is a little harder than the red one, isn't it? What do you think?
Forward.
I'm sorry?
Forward.
Forward? Kind of like, yeah. Okay, how about it? Go ahead.
You get scared.
I'm sorry, you get scared?
Like when you kind of jump up,
Okay.
you hurt yourself. Well, getting hurt and scared yourself.
Okay. Is that an example or not an example?
No. Oh, I just thought it was on the question.
Okay, but remember I'm trying to think of this idea. Yeah, what do you think?
I'm thinking it's diagonal.
Diagonal stuff? Kind of, but remember this might be more than one word answer. This might have a lot more words to it to get the answer. Yeah. I'm thinking of, can you think of an example? Oh, you're onto something. So if you poke somebody, what would happen? What would you do? If somebody pokes you, what do you do?
Say stop.
What?
Say stop.
Yeah, they might stop. But what would you do if you got poked in the arm? What are you going to do? Going to move your arm away? Is that an example or not an example? Actually, it is an example. Exactly. That's a really good example. What else?
Another example would like when a bunny hops.
What caused the bunny to hop, though? What made the bunny hop?
Maybe a carrot right was told.
Maybe so. Or maybe it saw a coyote. Maybe it saw a dog. So it starts to hop away, right?
Yeah.
Okay? And again, this is a little bit harder than just a one-word answer like the red, isn't it? Okay? Does that sort of begin to make sense?
Nope.
All right? So you guys came up with some of your own ideas. So let's do this. This would be really mean, but if your teacher put a tack on this chair and I sat down on it, wouch! Would that be an example or not an example?
Not an example.
Yes, it is an example. It is an example. But just the chair itself, if I just sit down on the chair, is that an example?
Yeah. No.
No. So who can put in your words what this idea is? Yeah. Okay, maybe sort of like hurting. It's more than that. Yeah, what do you think?
The movement.
Okay, it has something to do with movement. Good. Anything else? How many things are involved here? How many things are there? I had a tack, I sat down, and I had to stand up. How many things is that? Yeah?
2.
Yes. So there's something that happens first, and then there's something that happens next. Okay? Yes, go ahead.
You get hurt, then you get away.
Sort of. I like that idea. So something happens, and then you try to get away. All right? That's good. Yeah.
So I guess you mean, so it's not actually a tack, so why aren't you jumping up if you're sitting on the tack?
Because it was an imaginary tack.
So it's like,
And then I said it's gone.
Like you're poking your lips.
Right. Right. Okay? So is the idea, would you agree that the idea has something to do with something happens first and then something happens afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the idea that we're thinking about. All right? So keep that idea in your head. Got it?
Got it.
All right. Can anybody think of what we would call that, just like in terms of a couple of words that would help us to know that? Any of you heard of those kinds of words before? Your parents ever used those words?
What?
with you? I'm not sure they would. I'm just asking. Yeah.
It's probably you get hurt, then you try to get away, or did I say that?
You did say that once.
Okay.
And it's not so much hurt. I mean, it could be
Well, it could
anything.
be in
It could be anything, right?
like your movement. If
Yeah.
you're scared, you go.
There you go. It has something happens first, and something happens afterwards. Yes.
Well, how are you making all those pictures swap every single time?
Amazing, isn't it? It's called
Because
PowerPoint
that's
magic.
my computer.
It's on the computer. Do you guys not do that?
No, I didn't.
No? Oh, okay, that's fine. Well, that was the whole reason we did this, was just to show them that. So, oh, that's kind of a cool one. So what would happen, is this an example? If I push the button right here, and that shows up there, is that an example?
No.
Think about it. I did something,
Yes.
and something happened up there. Is that an example?
Yes.
Yes! So if I push the button again, I push something and something happens, is that the example?
Yes.
That's the whole idea, okay? Why don't you guys go back to your tables.